بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين أما بعد. Today we're talking about purification from filth. Yesterday we talked about something getting dirty, but we never talked about how to remove the filth itself. So last lesson we talked about what happens if the floor is damp, if your foot is damp, and whatnot. But we never talked about how to purify ourselves if we do get filth on us. Something that became impure from discernible filth becomes pure by, okay, so discernible filth means, if we look below, what is observable after drying. So once it's dry, can you still see it? Like blood, obviously, you can still see it. Indiscernible is that which is not observable after drying, like urine or water, which is impure. Okay? So these things, when they dry, you can't see them anymore on the clothes. So urine is not part of this. Okay? What is part of this is blood, is feces, is pus, and things like that. So once it dries, can you still see it? So removal of the body of filth, even if it is by one wash. So even if you get blood on your clothes, you don't have to wash it 3 times, one wash is enough, okay? Why? Because it's discernible filth. Understood? This is regardless of whether the water is. So what we say is, you only need to wash it once if you can remove it with one washing. Okay, so the essence is the removal of the body of the filth. Because it has a body, right? The blood has a body. Once you wash it, and we're not talking about the stain can stay, okay? But when you wash it, so with blood, what you do is you wash it, and then once you can get water to pass through the clothes, and the color of the water doesn't change, you know that the blood has gone, and what's left is just the stain, right? So the blood is gone, what's left is the stain. Same goes with any other, like feces. You wash it, the stain might still be there, right? Anyone who has children will know sometimes the stain stays. But as long as water can pass through it, and the water is clean once it passes through it, then we know that the filth is gone. Okay? So removal of the body of the filth, even if it is by one washing. So that doesn't mean it's clean with one wash, but it can be. It's possible. Okay? This is regardless of whether the water is, okay, running, or it is a large quantity of still water, or pouring of a purifying liquid, or washing in a washing vessel. Okay, so we can wash it in a lake, we can wash it in a river, we can wash it in with just pouring water on top of it constantly. Okay, so think of it like a waterfall. You just hold the clothes underneath a waterfall and it just gets cleaned. Or you can wash it in a washing vessel. Okay, you just have to make sure that the water that comes out is najis. So you need to make sure that you wash it in a washing vessel and then you get rid of the water. There is no harm in residual traces. Okay, like color and smell. You don't even have to get rid of the smell. Okay, which are difficult to remove. As long as water can pass through it, okay, we consider that pure for salah. Okay, one is not obliged to use hot water or soap and the like to remove filth. So you don't need to use any products. Just pure water is enough. There we go. There we go. Pure water is enough. Okay, quick recap. If you can see the if it's discernible filth, so not something like urine, but something like blood or feces or pus, then as long as you get rid of the body of it, okay, we're not talking about the color or the stain, but the body of it itself. As long as you get rid of it, then as long as water passes through it, even if it's with one wash, it's considered clean. Okay, and wringing the garment after washing it also isn't a condition. Okay, so it can stay wet. Okay. And that's it. The smell remaining after removal of the body of the filth is excused, even if it is not difficult to remove. Okay? So as long as you remove the body of the filth, all right, the smell is excused, even if it's not difficult. As for the taste, this must be removed, as its lingering indicates the existence of the filth itself. So obviously you're not going to go around tasting your clothes, but if for some reason you can, okay, taste whatever it is, then you need to get rid of it. Washing until the water becomes clear. Okay, so this is it. Washing until the water becomes clear purifies that which was dyed with filth. The remaining color in the garment, okay, so the stain, is excused. So with the blood, you're almost never going to get blood stains out of your clothes, right? Without using some detergents and things like that. So what did people used to do? They used to just wash it until the water itself would be clean. There is no impropriety in traces of filthy oil, except traces of fat from a carcass, as this is filth itself and must not be used for tanning hide. Filthy oils may be used for illumination in other than a mosque. Okay, so so we're talking about clothes and things like that. But if you have oil, for instance, and the oil becomes filthy, okay, then the oil itself, as long as it's just traces, it's not a big problem. However, if it's oil from a animal which has not been slaughtered the halal way, so a haram animal, then you cannot use this for anything, okay? Because it is filth in and of itself, okay? But an oil which has gotten filthy, because the oil itself is clean, we say it's filthy because of something else that went into the oil, okay? So maybe a rat died, or a mouse jumped into the oil and died inside the oil. If you've got a barrel of oil and a mouse died inside of it, that oil would be filthy. So what can you use that oil for? Obviously, you can't use it for cooking. You can't use it for something to, you can't use it on your clothes and on yourself. However, you can, for example, burn that oil. You can use it for other things, right? If it's petrol, if it's diesel, you can use it for your car. Okay, you don't have to throw it away just because it's dirty. So we don't say that just because something's dirty, you're not allowed to use it. Okay, in the Hanafi madhab, even if, for example, your petrol or your diesel became najis, you'd still be able to use it with your car. Okay, of course you're not going to eat or drink it or use it on your clothes and things like that. It's petrol, diesel anyways. But for us, we say that just because something is filthy doesn't mean you can't use it for other things, okay? So filthy oils may be used for illumination in places other than a mosque. Why? Because we respect the mosque. A place of indiscernible filth is purified by. Now, this is the important part, okay? So if you can see it, you just have to get rid of it, okay? The stain is okay. The smell is okay. But if the body is still there, then it's still dirty. You have to get rid of the body. So if it's indiscernible filth, so this is something like urine, okay? Or najis water, right? Filthy water. So when it dries up, you can't see it anymore, but it's still dirty, right? What you do is you wash it 3 times. Why? Because you can't tell whether it's clean or not, right? There's no, you can't see it, you can't smell it. I mean, you can smell it, but even if you, that's not a thingy. Like getting rid of the smell, like we said, is difficult sometimes. But that's excuse. So even if you smelt it, it may be clean, right? So you can't really tell whether you've gotten rid of the urine or not, okay? Or you've gotten rid of the impure water or not. So what you do is you just wash it 3 times, okay? So this is where the 3 times rule comes from. Right? We don't take this rule and apply it to everything else. So if you get blood on your clothes, how much do you have to wash it? You have to wash it enough times to get rid of the body of the filth, which may even be just 1 time. It may be twice, it may be 3 times, it may be more, right? So, but if you can't see the najasa, then that's when the 3 times wash 3 times rule applies. Okay, you wash it 3 times and you wringing excessively with each wash until there is no dripping. Okay, so if you imagine the clothes, right, you wash it, then you wring it, so you twist it until there's no drops left. Okay, and then you wash it again and then twist it, make sure there's no drops left, wash it again, twist it, no drips left, then it's clean. If the garment would drip further by another person wringing it, it is pure for the first person but not the second person. So it's saying you don't have to be super strong. Okay, it's just whatever you can do. Okay. This is because the first person has done his utmost to wring the garment, whilst the second person, if he were to wring it, could extract more water as he is stronger. So you need to use all of your might with this one, okay? So you need to do your best, right? You need to use all of your might to get rid of as much water as possible, okay? For delicate cloths like muslin that are damaged by wringing, okay, so now do you have to do this on every cloth? The garment must be left to dry 3 times. See, Islam isn't that difficult. Okay, if you've got, for example, nice curtains, right, or thin veils that if you were to wring it, you're going to destroy it, right? Or maybe it's hand knit and hand sewn that if you wringed it so much, right, you're going to ruin it. Then for delicate clothes like this, you just leave it to dry 3 times. And what is dry? It doesn't need to be bone dry. It just needs to stop dripping. Okay. The same applies for that which cannot be wrung. Yeah, for like a pillow or a mattress. Okay, how are you gonna get rid of water from a mattress? You can't. So you wash it, you leave it to dry. You wash it, you leave it to dry. You wash it, you leave it to dry 3 times. Okay. So that which cannot be wrung and does not absorb any particles of impurity at all, for example, stone, copper, matured and moist earthenware, or it partially absorbs filth, right? The body, foot gear, and sandals. For example, our body absorbs some filth. Like even if, for example, if you got like feces on your hand or something, and you washed it, even with soap, you can still smell it. Why? Because the body just absorbs it sometimes. Okay. As for that which absorbs much filth, right? Like a pillow, for example, earthenware hidden tanned with filthy oil, it is soaked in water 3 times and dried each time. Okay, so if it's something that just soaks it in completely, right? And when we say fresh earthenware, what it's talking about here is, you know, clay pots. But if it's fresh, it's just been made, right? So you haven't heated it up yet. Any oil you use, any najasa you put on it, it's just going to soak it up. So even if you were to fire it, and then it would be rock solid, it's going to be rock solid with the filth inside. Okay? So that's why we say fresh earthenware. What you do is you soak that clay pot in water completely, you leave it to dry, then you soak it again completely in water, and then you leave it to dry. The whole point is to get water into it. It is soaked in water 3 times and dried each time. Okay? The above rules are all when the washing is in a vessel or the like. However, if a large quantity of water is poured on or flows over the affected place, it is purified without the condition of wringing, drying, or repeating the immersing in water. Okay? So this is where we get the fatwa of a washing machine from. Okay, because normally a washing machine doesn't wash 3 times. It has a, depending on the setting you pick, it has a pre-wash, so that's 1 wash, and then it has a rinse, a normal wash, okay, and then it has a rinse, so that is 3, and then it has a drying. But if you don't pick the pre-wash setting, it's got a wash and a rinse and a dry. So it's only washed it twice. Okay, so not all the settings on the washing machine have 3 washes. But even if it doesn't have 3 washes, because the washing machine, and everyone knows this, how many hours does a washing machine wash the clothes, right? It's not the amount of water that is being used, it's the amount of effort, right? Those clothes get washed for 3 hours, there's 3-hour cycles, there's 3.5-hour cycles, right? Even the quick setting itself is half an hour. Like if a human was washing clothes, how long would we wash one t-shirt for? It's not going to take us half an hour for one t-shirt, right? We're not going to use that much effort. So the fact that the washing machine washes it just so much and so much better than what we can do, we say this is obviously accepted and a valid form of washing, right? The Shafi'i madhab, and I know we're doing Hanafi fiqh, okay, the Shafi'i madhab disagrees. So the Shafi'is, what they do, and the only reason I know this is because I have Shafi'i friends, if they get najasa, right, on their clothes, they wash those separately before they put it into the washing machine. Otherwise, according to them, the rest of the clothes in the washing machine gets contaminated. Okay, so that is for Shafi'is. For Hanafis, no problem. You throw all the clothes in at the same time and they come out smelling nice, right? Why? Because for us, what's important is to remove the body of the filth for those that we can see, and for those that we can't see, wash it properly, right? That's why we say 3 times. But as long as you use a lot of water, okay, or you just wash it really well, then we know that this impurity is completely gone, right? Right, without the condition of wringing, drying, or repeating. So this is where we would get the fatwa for the washing machine from, because the washing machine doesn't dry it, then wash it, then dry it, then wash it, then dry it, then it just washes it, then dries it one time, right? It is permissible to remove physical filth, okay, from a place using water, even if it is used water. What was used water? Used for spiritual purposes. So musta'mal, right? So wudu water, or ghusl water, which is not impure, yes? And all pure liquids that remove filth, vinegar, rose water. Remember these? Vinegar, rose water, we said, and when talking about the waters, we said that you can use these waters for purifying things, but you can't use them for ablution, right? So rose water, vinegar, orange juice, water that comes out from grapes, water that comes from watermelons, right? You're not allowed to use these for ablution, but you can use these for cleaning something, okay? Even though they're going to leave stains and smells, right? You can use them as sort of detergents or whatever, okay? Including saliva, right? So if you got a little bit of dirt on your hand, you could use saliva to clean it, okay? Licking 3 times and removing traces of filth from the saliva each time. Okay, purifies fingers, lips, and breasts that have become filthy. Okay, so what does this mean? So if you were to lick it 3 times, right, after the 3rd lick, your finger, we're assuming it's a finger, right? Your lips, and if the thing being licked by a baby obviously is the breast, then the breast itself would be clean. Okay, the like of milk and oil cannot be used to remove physical filth. So what's different is the fact that milk is no longer, has nothing to do with water, right? Oil never had anything to do with water. Anyways, what these things are, right? Vinegar, rose water, these are liquids, one, okay? And they are very close to water. Vinegar itself would be considered like a detergent, okay? Since vinegar comes from grapes, it's the same as using grape water, except it's just waited for a very long time and it's become acidic, okay? But milk is not the same. Milk includes what? It's got fats inside of it. Oil itself is a fat, okay? So these are completely different to what we mean when we say saliva, when we say vinegar, rose water. So if you put these into a category, right, milk and oil wouldn't fit into that category. Footgear and the like, if affected by filth with a solid body, even if this solid is moist, or it is wine or urine that has been solidified with earth, is purified by rubbing, okay? So you don't always have to use water if your footwear, and your footwear obviously is going to be waterproof, Okay, not water resistant, waterproof. Okay, for example, it's a leather usually, or nowadays it's like a synthetic, like a rubber. So your soles of your shoes, for example, or if you're wearing leather shoes and you get najasa on the leather, okay, all you have to do is rub it. You don't even have to use water. Why? Because the leather doesn't soak in anything. Scraping or scratching, okay? So you can rub it, you can scrape it, you can scratch it to remove the traces of filth. So what you would do, you would rub your shoe on a brick or something, okay? And that would remove the filth, except traces that are difficult to remove, okay? If the filth does not have a solid body, okay, urine or it's very thin blood, the foot gear needs to be washed, okay? Okay, so if it is a solid, you can rub it off, scratch it off. If it's not a solid, then it has to be washed, okay? Smooth surfaces without pores, right? Like mirrors, nails, bones, glass, bowls, china, jugs. Smooth hardwood, like lathed wood, sheets of silver, copper, and the like, when not imprinted. Okay, so it's absolutely smooth, right? We're talking about really smooth surfaces, are purified by wiping, okay, which removes the traces of filth. Even if the filth has no solid body, even if it's urine, you can just wipe it off. So we're talking toilet seats, plastic, all right, where it doesn't have grooves, okay? It's completely smooth. All you have to do, you don't have to take the toilet seat off and wash it 3 times in the bathtub. I've seen people do this. All you have to do is wipe it, okay? With one wipe, everything is clean. Okay, why? Because that has no pores, nowhere for the for the najasa to be stuck inside. It doesn't exist. But if it was scratched up, okay, what did we say? Without pores. If it's scratched up to a degree where dirt can linger inside, then you would have to wash it, okay? And if it's a solid, you wash it once. If it's not a solid, then you wash it 3 times for it to be considered not najis, okay? Understood? But even if you were to leave it najis, right? And this is one thing we need to understand. Even if you were to leave it najis, right? As long as you were to sit, for example, on the toilet seat and your body is dry, then the toilet seat is dry, your body is dry. There's no way for that filth to get on your body anyways. Remember we said between 2 dry things, there is no najasa. So even if something is najis, that doesn't necessarily mean just because we touched it, we're also najis, okay? For the purposes of praying upon the ground, not for the use of its soil in dry ablution, drying. What are we saying here? For the purposes of praying upon the ground, drying the affected place and the disappearance of traces of filth purifies the ground, okay? Okay, so right now we're not talking about tayammum, okay? So for the purposes of praying on the ground, and when we say ground, we don't mean a sajjada, we mean the soil, okay? Or the concrete, or the pavement, okay? As long as the affected place is dry, and the disappearance of traces of filth, okay? So you can't smell or see any najasa. This is enough for us to say that the ground is pure. So what does that mean? For example, if you go into a park and you're going to pray on the grass, and you don't have anything to put down, all you have to do is look, is the grass clean? Okay, as long as you can't see or smell. As long as you can't see or smell any najasa, any filth, then it's fine, you can pray on there, okay? What is stood upon the ground of trees and grass becomes pure upon drying, as does everything established upon the ground. Even if, for example, you saw, right, like a day ago, that an animal went there and urinated, for example. So you know that place is najis, right? But that night it rained. And by the next day, the sun came out and it dried. So you go there, you look, you can't see urine, you can't smell the urine, right? You're not going to taste the floor. So what you can pray there, even though you saw an animal urinate there, as long as it rains, so it gets wet and then it gets dry, for you the ground is clean. Okay, so you don't have to wait for it to rain 3 times. So the traces of filth, 353. We said it's the color, the taste, and the smell. Abu Dawood narrates that Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma. When you say Ibn Umar, you say radiallahu anhuma, not who. Because you're talking about the son of Umar. So both of them are Sahabis. So you say radiallahu anhuma said, during the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I was a young bachelor spending the nights in the mosque. The dogs would urinate in the mosque whilst going back and forth, and the companions did not pour any water because of this. So what we're saying is, as long as the ground is dry, okay, and you can't smell or see the filth, then you're allowed to pray on it. Okay, for us the ground is clean in these instances. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to pray outside, basically, right? Every time it rained, we would be worried, is this rain najis? Okay, so that's why we're not you don't have to worry about outside being dirty, as long as you can't see or smell it. You don't have to be paranoid. Okay, you don't have to always pray on a praying mat. Filth becomes pure when it is chemically transformed, for example, and this is very important. Okay, why is this very important? Because if we were to say filth is always filth and it can never be anything else, then the British pounds that we hold today would be najis. So with the British pounds, we use the Hanafi fatwa to say that you're allowed to pray with British pounds in your pocket. Why? What's inside the British pounds? The British pounds uses animal fat. And you think that these animals are halal animals? They use animal fat in the British pounds, and that's why we say normally it would be najis, but filth becomes pure when it's chemically transformed. Okay. For example, it becomes salt. It is burnt with fire and becomes ashes. A pig that has become soap despite its oil being filthy. So this is the fatwa that we would use. All right. So we say even if it was pig oil used in the British pounds, even though its oil itself is filthy, it's turned into soap or it's turned into something else, right? And excrement that has become soil at the bottom of a well. Okay, so it's been there for so long that it's just basically become soil. Same thing applies to, for example, if you go swimming in a lake and a lake has ducks, right? The bottom of the lake is going to be disgusting, right? As soon as your foot touches there, you'll understand. But we consider it to have become soil. 1 second, I need to get myself a drink. My throat is quite bad. I'll be right back, inshallah. Okay, I'm back. So, we said filth becomes pure when it's chemically transformed, okay? So, for example, this example, it's very important. It's very important. There's a lot of things, for example, where najis filth is used, but because at the end it gets transformed into something else, then we say it becomes pure, even though the ingredients list might have something impure in there. At the end of it, okay, it's been transformed into something else. Okay, an affected place may be purified by scraping in the following cases. Okay, pure dried sexual fluid. Okay, so we're talking many. All right, so we're talking semen here. Once it's dried, okay, you can just scrape it off. is scraped from the garment or the body and the head of the male private part. Once it's dried, it's scraped off, it becomes clean. Because he cleaned the filth with... Because he cleaned the filth with water. What's it saying here? Is scraped from the garment or the body and the head of the male because he cleaned the filth with water. Okay, so from the garment or the body, you can scrape it off. The male end is cleaned because when you go to the toilet and you do istinja, you wash it with water anyways. Okay, so 357, the rule does not apply if one cleaned oneself with stones, as they decrease filth but do not remove it like water does. So from there you would have to use water, but from the body or the garment, you can, as long as it dries up, you can scrape it off. Only sexual fluid or only urine spreads onto the head of the and pass beyond the exit hole of the penis. This one, you can just scrape it off. Neither sexual fluid nor urine spread onto the head. If both sexual fluid and urine spreads onto the head, purity is not attained by scraping away, okay, the semen. There is no difference in the legal ruling for male or female sexual fluid or between garments and the body. Wet sexual fluid is only purified by washing. So basically what we're saying is, if it's only urine, and it has passed beyond the exit hole, okay, or it's only sexual fluid, these can be scraped off. But if it's neither these two, okay, or it's neither these two, but if both of the sexual fluid and the urine spreads onto it, then you cannot just scrape it away, okay. Obviously, if it's wet, you can only purify it by washing. That which is possible to tan becomes pure after tanning. And why do we say that which is possible to tan? Because there are things which are it's impossible to tan. What we say is it never becomes clean. Like the skin of a pig, for example, will never be clean. We don't count that as ever being able to be tanned, even if it is tanned in the sun or by the use of earth, okay. For example, the hide of a carcass, the urinary bladder and the intestines, okay. This is important because, for example, in Turkey they eat the intestines too. So in the Hanafi method we say that the intestines, as long as they're cleaned, they can be considered edible. Tanning does not purify the hide of pigs and human skin, okay. Human skin and pigs, well, not for the same reason, but pigs because they're filthy, human skins because of obvious reasons, can never be clean. Slaughtering in accordance with sacred law purifies everything of an animal whose meat is unlawful to consume except its meat. Right? Pay attention. I'm saying that again. This is a really important fatwa. Slaughtering in accordance with sacred law purifies everything of an animal whose meat is unlawful, right, to consume except its meat. Okay? The meat is unlawful. For example, if a dog were to be slaughtered in the same manner that we normally slaughter sheep, okay, the meat is unlawful, okay. It doesn't purify the meat, so you have to throw away the meat. However, the bones, the hair, anything other than the meat, all becomes pure, okay. Remember, that doesn't mean you're allowed to start slaughtering dogs, okay. Remember, when we don't take fatwas like that from books. We say whatever it's saying is what it's saying. Okay, we don't take that to mean we can slaughter any animal. That doesn't mean you can go around killing elephants and taking their, tusks and things like that. or you start hunting rhinos for their horns. That is not what we take from this, okay? The following substances are pure, okay? And it means regardless, it's always pure. What? Unplucked hair, okay? So for us, even if it's a dog, right, the hair itself isn't najis. The bones, all right? Doesn't matter why. Doesn't matter how it dies, okay? The hoofs and the horns, which are devoid of fat, okay? Because sometimes there's fat inside. But if there's hoofs and horns which don't have fat, belonging to a carcass, these are always pure, okay? And when it says carcass, remember, it's talking about a non-slaughtered animal, so it died the haram way, okay? Rennet of a carcass, this is important because this is used in yogurt, okay? At one stage, I believe it's used in cheese, yogurt and cheese. Either it's used in both or just used in one. I can't remember now, but I remember one person came to the masjid one day and he said, you're not allowed to eat yogurt, you're not allowed to eat cheese and whatnot. And it caused a big problem. People stopped having yogurt and cheese. And then I had to issue a fatwa. I mean, it's not my fatwa. It's literally written in the book, right? I had to issue a fatwa that it's fine, even if it's taken from an animal which is slaughtered in a haram way. The rennet is fine, okay, of a carcass. So even if the animal dies by itself, even if it is in liquid form, okay. 3, unplucked human hair, bones and nails devoid of fat, okay. Human hair, if it's unplucked, isn't najis. If it's bones, are not najis, okay. And the nails are not najis. So if you clipped your nails and you put them in your pocket, you can still pray. The blood of a fish, why? Because fish don't have running blood. We don't consider it running blood, okay? Musk is pure and lawful to eat. What is musk? Musk comes from animal, okay? It comes from a deer, I believe. It comes from a deer, and it's musk. So the musk that we put on ourselves is actually derived from an animal, okay? The pouch of musk, even if it is wet and from an unslaughtered animal, okay? It's clean. Civet and ambergris, I don't know what these are, okay? Let's have a look at what this is, 371 and 372. Civet is a small, lithe-bodied, mostly nocturnal mammal that produces a musk, which is called civet. Okay. The musk is secretion produced by the animal's perineal glands and is pure due to having undergone transformation. It is valued as a fragrance and a stabilizing agent for perfume. Okay. So this one we're allowed. And this is written in Tahtawi, so it's been used for quite a long time. Tahtawi is an old book. A solid waxy substance produced in the digestive system of sperm whales. Okay. After aging, it acquires a sweet scent and was formerly used as a fixative in perfumes like civet. Today, its usage has largely been replaced by synthetics. So these two, even though they're also derived from animals, just like musk is, they're also considered to be pure. Okay. So not everything that comes from animals is impure. Okay, not every animal substance is impure, even if it's haram slaughter or it dies by itself. Okay, as you can see, the bones, you can use the bones, you can use those other things. Now, there is a question, just to clarify, we are allowed to eat cheese that has animal rennet in it, even if the animal wasn't slaughtered in the halal way. The answer is yes, as we read here. Okay, the following substances are pure. Okay, rennet of a carcass. What does carcass mean? A dead animal, not slaughtered properly. Otherwise, we just say that anyways, because we've already talked about halal slaughter makes everything halal anyways. We're talking about the rennet of a carcass. Okay, even if it's in liquid form, is halal and pure. Okay, so the cheese and the yogurt is fine. I believe, I don't know if they have it in yogurt, but but they have it in cheese. So we finished, alhamdulillah, the book of cleanliness. So now we're on the book of salah, the ritual prayer. So from now on, we will no longer be talking about purity and filth. We will no longer be talking about wudu. We will no longer be talking about ghusl. We will no longer be talking about different types of water. We will no longer be talking about different animals, the way of slaughter. We won't be talking about what things you can eat, what things you can't eat, what you can put on your body. None of these will be talked about anymore. Okay? That is all to do with what the book of cleanliness. So from now on, we're going to be talking about worship. Okay? So if we missed anything, or there is a subject that you wanted to know about that we haven't read in the book of cleanliness, but it is to do with cleanliness, you'll have to ask that as a question. From now on, we won't be talking about purifying anything anymore. Okay, inshallah. So we'll end here. We're just in time, alhamdulillah. Did you say rennet in cheese? Yes, the rennet in cheese is halal, straight from the book. From here. Rennet of a carcass, even if it's in liquid form, is fine. Okay, inshallah. The answer is yes, you can have that. Somebody came to the mosque one day and they said that. I didn't take the fatwa from this book, even though it says it in this book too. I took it from Ibn Abidin. But it's very certain that rennet itself is halal. Okay, so we'll end here inshallah. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.